video, we're going to be talking about the angel ZACHAREL, who is actually the angel of surrender. A lot of people are going to hear the word surrender and perhaps potentially associate it with ideas around giving up or whatever. Now, that's a misinterpretation of what we mean by surrender, and you'll understand it more as we go through the video. But before we get into the business of talking about his function, his powers, and his messages, I would like to actually welcome you all to the channel. If you're a newbie, if you're a returning visitor, thank you one and all. You're all invited. So another reminder, you're all invited to leave your comments, your thoughts, your questions, any ideas, even your experiences, because the aim of this channel is to empower people. And a lot of the time it's about opening the mind and changing the way we look at things so that we can actually open up and to receive the blessings of the universe, the angels, and of course the Creator, because this ultimately, the aim is to help people to live a happier, healthier life and to be able to walk their divine plan, follow their blueprint. So when we're talking about ZACHAREL, the first thing obviously is that his name means remembrance of God, Creator, whatever name you want to call him, her. Could be a her for you, depending on what you believe. But to remember consciously that there is a divinity that you carry within you. Some people call it the Namaste, some people call it the divine spark. Either way, it's known as a fragment of the Creator that lies within each and every human being that's walking on the planet. Some people, I think probably more so the Christians, will refer to this divine spark as the Holy Spirit. Now, at the end of the day, ZACHAREL's creation goals are about empowering you. And when we talk about ascension, we're talking about raising the molecular vibration of your aura. And we do this by developing an attitude of surrender. And rather than surrender being a case of giving up, it's about releasing resistance to what we already know. And that is the fact that, yes, we are a divine spark and we have divine will. We have a divine the Creator has divine will, we have individual will, we have free will, and we also have a divine blueprint. And the idea is to raise our vibration enough that we align our will with divine will. That doesn't mean to say that we give up, of course, right? That doesn't mean that we suddenly become a victim of life and we have no control or anything like that. What that means is that we align with divine will. Divine will actually includes free will for us and being choices. So more importantly, this is about opening up and becoming receptive to the blessings of the Creator. He's also what is called a seraphim angel. And of course, this is when we talk about the angelic hierarchy, you've got the seraphim and the cherubim, and you may as well say they are the yin yang of each other. Cherubim will always present as female. Seraphim are always going to present as male. The rule of thumb, of course, is that angels are genderless because they don't need to have gender. They don't procreate, so it's not necessary. However, we're talking about energy factors here and the essence of the angel and their aura. Now, what else can I say? With the seraphim and the cherubim, they both present with bright colours, very bright colours, and they have a mission. I'm just reading my notes here, sorry about that. Their mission, whether they're cherubim or whether they are seraphim, is basically empowerment. And a lot of this comes through releasing guilt from holding power or becoming a powerful person, releasing fears and this kind of thing. But the other thing is about the development of wisdom. And I think when we talk about the seraphim and ZACHAREL and this idea of surrender, we're talking about there's a serenity prayer somewhere where it's like knowing when to hold on and when to let go. Now, I'll get into this in more detail as we go through because there's some beautiful wisdom here that is imparted to us. But just another reminder, excuse me as I swallow, is that when we talk about angels, they have an aura that is a light body, the same as a human does. They don't actually have a human form because we're humans, we have human forms. Angels can manifest, if you've got your clairvoyant gifts open, they can manifest in ways that we recognize as being human. and their aura, it tends to be elongated, and it does have a little bit of a wing to it. When I put the guardian angel video up, I think that it will demonstrate, because I've been working on the image for that. It will probably be a little bit more helpful for you to visualize yourself, but they definitely don't have the wings like a bird. Okay, I use the wings in my artwork because actually I like them, and I like, I suppose, the nature connection as well. Actually, there's any number of reasons why I like to portray them with the feathered wings, but they aren't like that, is where I'm going. Sorry, a bit distracted here at the moment. I shall crack on. So his primary message is that his role when he works with us is to encourage us to remember who we are, where we came from, and what our purpose is. And it is through this approach that we're going to establish a really deep surrender to that divine aspect that lies within us. Now, I could, as my message to you, go into the idea of the veil, but that might be something that we can talk about another time. Let's talk about ZACHAREL. Many people don't actually realize that we can create a personalized connection to the Creator and the divine aspects of self by building and strengthening this connection based on the divine spark that we hold within. In many ways, it's like opening up a channel, which is probably where the word channeling comes from. I would describe it as potentially an etheric power line or a phone line, but it's definitely a cord of connection, shall we say. Anyway, there's a few steps that are involved with this. The first thing is to remember we're all part of a bigger picture. There is more to the world than the singular you and me, the I. There is a willingness required to explore what that means for each of us, and also for the whole of humanity as well, and being open and receptive to divine guidance and divine will to be able to manifest the blessings of this connection, which is obviously what we're all aspiring to receive the blessings of love, kindness, compassion, all of this stuff that uplifts our path as we walk it. Now, what ZACHAREL says is, until we learn to do this, we as humans are going to live this great illusion of our lives, and that is that we're walking this path alone, that we're unsupported, unloved, uncared for, even isolated. Our human life is one of limitation and restrictions, and we feel small and entrapped by our emotional baggage. You know, this is our past experiences, our memories, and even our environments. And these limitations are all aspects of the ego, or what is called the small self. And to be honest, it is a byproduct. If I can talk, stumbling over my words today, it's a byproduct of having a narrow mind or some really small scale thinking. And his message to us is that it's a consequence of the beliefs that we take on board. And when we take on board beliefs, we're taking on board the teachings given to us by other people, or their beliefs, or what they think is true. And this is why we need to go inside. This is why there's this encouragement: go inside, go deep within, and find your personal truth, because what you believe may not necessarily be the same as the person standing beside you. And unfortunately, what we tend to do as humans is take on board the negative, the critical, the judgmental type views. Now, all of this is based on belief, as I said. So if you think about this, if a person believes in a harsh and cruel God or creator, then this is something that they've been taught. They've taken on board what they have been taught by people they believe, see this keyword, to be their teachers and somehow superior to them around what a God or a creator wants. If they believe in this angry God that wants to wreak justice or to send people to the bastions of hell, this of course is fear-based information. It keeps people conforming to social rules, and people believe this, okay? I'm not going to tell you any different. You've got to go within your own heart and look at what feels right to you. Anyway, scientists, this is a bit that resonates for me. Scientists will tell us that God doesn't exist and that we as humans were made manifest from apes, that we've evolved. I think that's the Darwin theory. Anyway, they don't actually have any evidence to support these theories, okay? And this is why it's referred to as the missing link. But this belief, because that's all it is, a belief that there was a Big Bang theory that ended up with a bunch of apes walking the planet that slowly and gradually turned into human beings. But they haven't been able to prove that. Now, equally, I'll go into my notes here. Other scientists will tell us that we can't see spirit and we can't communicate with them. Now, as far as I'm concerned, they're flying in the face of their own codes. Okay, I've discussed this previously. The truth, a scientific truth, is based on evidential facts, okay? And there are no scientific facts that disprove either the existence of God or that a person can communicate with spirit. And in fact, more recently, I am aware that scientific tests by reputable scientists have been conducted upon mediums giving spirit communication messages, mediumship, okay? And they have actually established that there's changes in the brain. I think it was the pineal gland, actually. So I'm going off on a little bit of a waffle here, but I want you to remember this business. The reason I'm waffling is because I'm talking about opening your mind to the possibility, okay? And this is a key part of surrender and a key part of the messages that is given to us by Zacharel. And the other thing is, we're living in a world currently that seems to be more and more dismissive of anything to do with God, creator, goddess, whatever you want to call it, and spiritual communication. It's all kind of pushed away with this massive resistance to it. Okay, so I'm just trying to open people's mind a little bit. You may actually probably, if you're watching this, you're probably already open, but just in case, okay? Whatever approach we choose to take, what we believe is going to impact on our experiences. So for the person that doesn't believe in God, until they've had an experience, it's unlikely that anything anybody says, including me, is going to sway them, all right? Until they experience the feelings of energy, until they feel it themselves, or until a medium walks up to them and gives them a message that leaves them in absolutely no doubt, they probably will not believe. They'll continue to go around with this narrow perspective of what is and what isn't. So the challenge for them is to either wait until they have these categoric experiences, because opening up is going to happen one way or another, okay? It is a fact of life. We're all on the path. We're all going to the same destination. It just takes some people quicker to get there, some people a bit longer, okay? So people have got choices. They can go along in this bubble of pain, if you like, or they can open sooner and start to receive their blessings. So the free will to help a person open their mind right now would be to encourage them to, just, if you don't believe it, that's okay. Give this stuff a try, because it might actually persuade you differently. As you open your mind, you will also open up to receiving the blessings. You will experience the energy, the situations that will convince you. You will know, you will feel it. And what if I put, you will feel the love of the Creator, and once you've experienced it, you're going to hunger for more. You will know because you have opened your heart. By challenging your own beliefs, you will open your mind, and as you open your mind, you will open your heart. And that becomes, I think, back to my psychological training of people being either top-down processors or bottom-up. And if they're bottom-up, they feel it in their heart first. That's that first-hand experience. And if they're a top-down processor, they start to see, think, notice. So Zacharel says that surrender occurs upon a bridge of faith, and this faith is in a power greater than yourself, the power of God, Creator, Jesus, whatever name you want to call, the highest power. And as we commence the process of surrender, it can be frightening at first, and I can reiterate that, with feelings of helplessness, vulnerability can become magnified, especially if historically we've had no belief in God or no experience of inexplicable miracles. And inexplicable miracles, of course, are evidence of a direct result of the presence of God and angels in our lives. And sometimes we interpret these as lucky windfalls. Other times, when we have been praying and missed seeing the answers for apparently no obvious reason, people can perceive that prayers or miracles that prayers weren't answered or that miracles didn't occur. But faith is the power that supports a leap into the unknown and to cross this bridge, this divine bridge to the Creator. Incidentally, this is not what Zacharel says, this is what I understand to be, that when people talk about the fairy realm and that kind of stuff, this is how they approach creation and creativity and faith, and they call it the rainbow bridge. And in fact, some people that believe in angels also call it the rainbow bridge. I'm one of them, actually. Putting my hand up to it, I call it the rainbow bridge. So the other thing Zacharel says is, as we surrender to the Creator and the angels, we're going to experience feeling of God, your eternal self, and angels in a more personalised way. Now, I just want to give you a little note here. This is why I like to personalise the angels when I'm doing up my content and that kind of stuff. I like to put names to them because it helps me feel more personally connected to them. But the other part, this is the next part of Zacharel's message, is that as you start to recognize their presence and receive the answers to your prayers, and you feel this presence, and you feel it through this heightened sensory perception, it can be feeling energy. It can be obviously the opening up of the clairvoyance and that kind of thing. But the more you experience these sensations and the presence of the divine, the more you learn to trust them. And as your communication with them improves, you're able to recognize the power that they have, because they have a lot of power, and you are willing to share this power. Okay, you're willing to actually embrace it and to share it with others. At times throughout your daily life, you're going to feel united with your eternal self in a way that you desire to bring this sense of oneness into your daily reality. And this translates to some of the words that some people use: connection and unity. So you unite your own self with your eternal self, and that is a form of connection. That's your divine connection. And then we're able to build this connection with other people and feel more united with them and less alone and less separate in general. So, as a consequence to building these connections, it's through the connection to the eternal that we experience these moments that are real upliftment of the soul and uplifting of spirits. There becomes joy that can only be described as rejoicing, actually, at actually words don't do it justice. There becomes a real joy. We begin to embrace life with the challenges and the joyful, happy moments as well, because we feel connected to this entire process. And as we strengthen the connection, as I say, it helps to build connection with other people that are on their pathway as well, on the earth plane, mere mortals like the rest of us. And the divine will bring other people of like mind towards, or bring them together, so that they can pursue often the divine pathway. They might have a shared path, if not for the long term, for at least a period of time. And these become amazingly satisfying relationships, shall we say. Now, this can be friends, it can be mentors. Anyway, initially, these moments that we have of feeling connected, they are temporary. It seems like they're momentary gifts, shall we say. And it's his advice, Zacharel's advice, is it's until we have this full surrender, and align ourselves with divine will, then it's temporary. We will have those ups and downs that we talk about, where the energy of love disappears for a little while, the feelings of separation will re-emerge, and once again we'll feel alone, perhaps abandoned, isolated and separate, until we foster and focus our intent again upon the connection and surrendering, doing a full surrender. A full surrender is about making this conscious decision to tear down and break through the walls of separation forever, and to enter into a state of eternal unity with the Creator. There's no longer a need to seek the Creator to heal your pain, because the Creator becomes your everything. You give up and release all ideas of resistance and unity to this divine will, and instead you relax and just go into this space of connection, with a desire to be of service to the Creator and humanity. It becomes a case of God's will is my will is Creator's will, that kind of thing. So there becomes a shared connection that is this shared vision, shared actions, if you like, where you start to feel the weight of your fears and burdens melt away, and instead you become more relaxed, you feel more at peace internally, and there's no longer this desire that we have that's based in our human small self to control and dictate the direction of even your life and the where you expend the energy or what you want to have, and you instead allow the Creator to direct your actions by following your guidance, because you know that you've got that pure connection in place, so you can trust the messages. You've overcome your negative mind chatter, shall we say. You learn to differentiate between what is pure guidance and what is the voice chatter, the delusions, if you like. So you may have just heard a little bark. I just want to say that wasn't me. It could have been, because sometimes I have a little bit of a cough, but not today. That was the puppy. But getting back into Zacharel's messages, which is that basically through surrender, we become more and more blessed. We end up with a far more incredible life than we could have ever imagined or planned for ourselves once we give up this interference, if you like. When you ask for help, you've got to step yourself out the way, and let them deliver for you. The essence of your eternal self is enormous, says Zacharel. It's massive, and your destiny will lead you to do big things in accordance with divine will. Now, be aware that feelings of unworthiness can act as a barrier to you receiving blessings, and they are insidious. They can weave a web around you where you feel as though it's impossible to break through. And this, just a reminder, is the activity of the self, the small self, or what some people call the ego, attempting to manipulate energy. Now, when you feel these kind of negative thoughts come in, you're advised to pray, to invoke the energy of the Creator and Zacharel to heal you and help you to let go of any feelings that block receptivity or your alignment with divine will. Zacharel also reminds that feelings are vital. They're our guide, and they are vital to this part of the process of surrender, because your true feelings, they are your connection to the divine will of the Creator, okay? Your Creator's will is one of love, and love doesn't require you to be a puppet for the Creator or for others. If other people attempt to make you feel less than what you are, or insist that you ignore your feelings, then they are not coming from a space of love, especially if they're insisting that you repress your feelings so that they can actually feel better. I could talk about that, but I'll talk about this message first. Sacrifice, suffering, and pain are the result of resistance and opposition, and they are not the same as surrender to the truth. Giving up is not the same as when we talk about surrender. I've just got to be clear how I articulate this. Surrender is the releasing and handing over of your burdens. It doesn't mean that you give up on life. Sacrifice involves denying emotions, and it can leave you enraged at yourself and the person who that demanded that you make a sacrifice. And I had a bit of a crisis of faith, so I'll say that at one stage I did actually get really quite enraged and felt that I was very angry at the universe and divine, if you like, because of some of the suffering that I had to experience. But I will say that, I had to go through that process. That was part of my growth and development. And, it was also unreasonable, I've got to say, at this point in time. That's a story for another day. But basically, yes, if we feel that we are sacrificing, we can become very angry at the people that we feel have made a sacrifice, and we can be very angry at the universe, and that sits in our energy field, actually. Becomes very bogged down. It's a massive block, is where I'm going with this. And it can, goodness me, what was I going to say? It creates feelings of guilt big time, and a very, very heavy burden of guilt is associated with very angry reactions, shall we say. And so because this is why I can put myself in this and say, look, I went there, I actually did it. I got very angry, very enraged at the world, very angry at the Creator. I actually remember screaming at my guides and my angels, and then felt like dirt. You know what I mean? As I went through the process, I then really beat myself up for being what I consider to be a horrible human being, for actually experiencing anger. But the thing is, the process of surrender is that we have to actually be able to release this feeling, and also recognize that the Creator is not asking us to sacrifice anything, Okay, we make the decision to sacrifice. They're not demanding it of us. Anyway, going back to it, release is liberating. So Zacharel explains that guilt can have you believing that a certain type of behaviour is expected of you, and you might not even realise that you're angry. And he goes further and says, true surrender feels weightless with all your problems lifted away and is a positive, peaceful and happy experience. And I think it's really important to hold on to that as we make the choices and decisions in our life, okay? Those things that belong to you are those things that bring and fill your life with joy and love. So he encourages you to evaluate your life and where you're at right now, and ask yourself a few questions. Of course, do you honor your feelings, or are you making self-sacrifices to appease others? Do you seek to control your emotions with habitual behaviors? And he encourages you to be willing to let go of your attachment to everything. And this includes your family, your friends, job, home, stuff, activities. Anything in your earthly life is actually temporary. And these attachments, when they're unhealthy, they can actually really pull you down. Now, this doesn't mean that we give up on everything, or that we give everything away, or that we all go and leave our families and join the people living on the street, or become a priest in a monastery or something like that. It means enjoy and use what you have without being owned by it, and find a new level of relationship with the people that you love and care about, because what is truly good for you is also good for them. So to apply that to my own context, this beautiful thing, through the eyes of, oh gosh, what is it? Looking backwards, through the eyes of reflection, you can actually see what happened. So within the context of my situation, I had made my connection to the divine, the creator, the universe, and all the rest of it. But what happened was I started to get a couple of some really big challenges, because challenges never stop. And in the process, I don't know if I became too busy to actually take that time out and do the reflection and build my connection. But I stopped asking for the help from the divine and the creator. And if I look back, I can actually see now, especially as I do up this video, where I went wrong, which was that I chose certain pathways of behaviour because actually I was feeling guilty. I felt that I had failed at a couple of things. I'm not going to go into it. So I took myself down a pathway of sacrificing my own happiness for other people. And of course, that wasn't appreciated because that wasn't the divine pathway. So that's where I think I'm just really summarizing how this can play out in the earthly existence. But of course, I was persistent at walking the diversion, getting off the path. I stuck with it for a while. And by the time I came back, then you've got to work through the guilt, knowing what you know in hindsight. But when I say you've got to do it, you don't necessarily have to. This is about surrender and releasing resistance. And I just chose to, I guess. It's own it. I chose it. I did what I did. But now I'm back. And I'm happy to be back. So he goes further with his messages as well. Goodness me, I should have reconnected with him a long, long time ago. But either way, the message is that you become blessed. You don't lose yourself when you're surrendering to divine will. You find yourself. You feel fulfilled, loved, and this desire for oneness. He says it's through the act of surrender you'll be able to be filled with this eternal love, and gratitude just flows through you, wave after wave, as the three ascension attitudes unite. Now, of course, that's love, gratitude, and surrender. Your mind is open to receiving your wisdom and your guidance in ways that were previously beyond your understanding. And as this unity occurs, the oneness, and I touched on this before, you do manage to unite with others. You don't lose yourself. You find yourself, and you become truly who you are. You become the truth of what you've always wanted to be, which everybody wants to be: loved, loving, lovable, and to walk their path in peace, compassion, and integrity. You find everything that your soul hungers for. Now, before I go on to the next slide, I just want to make note of the image on this one here, because I always talk about angels, and with the first video, or the first slide of this video, when we were talking about hierarchy, I mentioned that they don't have feathery wings. So if you're not a visual person, this might help you out a bit. If you look at the blue and you were to draw around that, you're looking at an oval circle, okay? When you look at the wings, if you were to get a pencil and do the outline, probably about half that length, I would say, and then bring it down, so half the length, half the width, you've got a winged light aura. And that's probably more of what the angelic aura looks like, just as a useless tidbit of information for you in case your clairs are opening up. So, as always, I put in an example of an invocation for you to build your own from. The advice is if you suffer from illusions of lack of worthiness, remember that's going to be a barrier to receiving your blessings. So pray to, invoke, call upon Creator and ZACHAREL to show you where you're being trapped and blocked by feelings of unworthiness, and to help you to let go and receive divine will. And I would consciously choose to be open to receive before I even did an invocation. And don't forget to put on when you're doing your invocations, always finish with under grace and in the divine way, so that you're not attempting to manipulate the energy. You know that everything that's happened is divinely inspired. And of course, then we finish with gratitude. Now, if you struggle with gratitude, I've just put down a couple of little sentences here that can be affirmations or mantras that you can incorporate into your life to help you to open up and become more receptive to being grateful and experiencing things to be grateful for. So this one, I give thanks for blessings seen and unseen. This is when you're in a challenge and you're struggling to see that silver lining of the cloud. And then the other one is kind of when we talk about blessings to the front and rear, we're talking about the blessings to come that are in the future and the blessings that lay behind you. You could also develop that as to seen and unseen, and to the right and left of me is acknowledging what's going on in your surroundings right now. That's how I interpret this saying. Anyway, it opens you up to being grateful, genuine, heartfelt gratitude. So, my friends, of course, we've reached the end of another video today. I hope that the content has been somewhat useful to you. I hope that you gained some benefit from it. In the meantime, I'm going to say thanks for being part of my journey. Love you, leave you, catch you on the next one. Bye-bye for now. Take care. Be blessed. Bye-bye.